We're live. Hopefully the microphone works today. How's it going, chat? Are you having a good one? I hope you don't. I hope you're not having a good one because then I can entertain you. How about that? Like, if you're already cheerful, you're making my job harder. So, homework for tomorrow, go out there, be depressed, watch the news, watch the legacy media. It's going to do a wonderful job at depressing you. Go shopping. Shopping is depressing, right? Do you have a source that groceries are expensive? Source. And then you come back here and I'll entertain you. So, anyway, got interesting things to talk about. Apparently, a lot of gaming companies do not enjoy that you can play old games. They seem to have wisened up. They're probably looking at the data, and they're realizing that a lot of people are playing old games on Steam, and it really bothers them. Like, it really infuriates them. Like, why aren't you playing the new slop? And I gotta say, you know, like, most of these gaming companies are kind of like cargo cults. Like, cargo cults is a really interesting phenomenon. I'm pretty sure I talked about it and you guys know. But if you don't, during World War II, you had the Allies fighting in the Pacific, and they landed on some islands that had tribes that never encountered civilization before. So, like, for them, seeing planes coming out of the sky and dropping crates full of supplies was just like seeing gods. And the Americans were very nice to them, right? Like, they were giving them supplies, they were giving them food, medicine, and then the Americans left. So the cargo cults, they started building planes out of straws. They started maintaining the airfields. They were wearing the jeans that the Americans left, like the uniforms. They created like this entire religion. Because they wanted the place to come back. Like, they wanted the supplies again. So basically, like, they are people that know planes can fly. Like, they know it is possible for a human being to create a flying machine, but they don't know how. And this is literally what's happening at these AAA companies nowadays. Like, for those of you who haven't lived the golden age of gaming, it was like a massive thing. Like, when World of Warcraft: The Burning Crusade came out, you had a small GameStop. Again, this is actually something that I know from a Blizzard employee. You had a GameStop, and the line was like 3 times around the store. Like it went so long, it was like 3 times around the store, and they ran out of the game to sell. So, like, one of the Blizzard guys, they went back into their office in order to get like some of the games that they had for friends and families, and brought those there in order to keep signing. It was insane, right? Like, so basically, like, the AAA companies now, like, they know it's possible, right? Like, they know it's possible to create entertainment that would be mind-blowing, but they don't know how. So they're trying to emulate. They're trying with all these remakes. Someone gave a really nice metaphor. It's kind of like when the Titanic was sinking. If you watched Titanic, the movie, there were the people that were throwing coals in the incinerator while the ship was sinking, like trying to give it more power. The ship was sinking, and what they were doing was like delaying the inevitable by a little bit. This is what the companies are doing. Like, they're throwing all these old games into the fire, trying to just give remake after remake in the hopes that they can keep the industry afloat, and it just doesn't work. People are still playing old games. It's getting to the point of absolute ridiculousness where, like, Suicide Squad is released, and there's more people playing Batman Arkham City than there are people playing Suicide Squad. Playing old DOS games in Chrome. You know what? I actually did play an old DOS game. They have such charm. I played Goblins 3. They have such amazing charm. And I also play Alone in the Dark, the first one. Like, they're very simple games, right? But for their time, they were actually quite impressive. Oh yeah, that's a good thing. Like, when will I remake my game? You know, I actually thought about remaking my game. I mean, if it would be successful, and it's a big if, and I would start a gaming studio, I suppose that if I release a sequel and it's good, I could actually remake the first game and make it better. But if I were to, like, have a bigger staff, if I were to have, like, more people working on it, then yeah, sure. But the thing with remakes, you would, like, Resident Evil 2 remake was great. right? The reason for it is that it's not just like taking Resident Evil and updating the graphics. It's like, no, it's over the shoulder. They created like new mechanics, the way the zombies move, like you can shoot a zombie in the leg and it starts crawling. The way they introduced the tyrant, that it actually now follows you through doors and shit. Like, that was really good, right? Like, that's how you properly remake a game. But then you have remakes that are really bad. Like for instance, the Silent Hill remake. A lot of people like it. I don't. It's not necessarily that it's a bad game, because it's a good game, but it's not as good as the old horror, right? Like the over-the-shoulder camera kind of removes some of that dread. And one of the things that I generally dislike about it is that the first one actually had like some clunky controls. And I think like that was implemented in the game with the purpose so that you feel the horror. In this new Silent Hill, I generally like do not feel scared because the enemies are so easy. Like it's a lot. The same thing happened in Resident Evil 3 when they gave the dash mechanic to the player, right? So in Resident Evil 2 with Leon, you're moving slow. It's very difficult. You can easily get surrounded. But then in Resident Evil 3, you got like a dash mechanic, which if you press at the right time, it slows down. Like things, the time slows down, so you can now better aim at the zombie's head. I hated that. Like, a horror game is supposed to make the player feel weak and powerless. And it's all about resource management. That's what a survival horror should be like. You shouldn't be able to have like all these abilities in order to make life easier for you. Yeah, like that's the thing. Like, Silent Hill 2 Remake is not scary. That's my point. Like, it's a good game, but it's not like a horror game. I think like someone compared it to The Last of Us, which is kind of true. It's kind of get the same vibe. People that say remakes are good have no standards. There are very few that are good. Again, Resident Evil 2, I think, is like one of the few remakes that I would actually recommend. And I can say, yeah, it's actually better than the first game. Which, you know, it shouldn't be that hard because, like, the first game was very old. But, yeah, like, Resident Evil 2 Remake is an amazing remake. And other than that, I'm actually trying to think if there's any good remakes, but I can't really think of any. Age of Mythology, you can say, like they remade it recently. Like, that one is pretty good. No, that's kind of it. That's kind of it. Like, most other remakes, I wouldn't recommend. Dead Space remake was really bad. I didn't like it. I know that Rags likes it. It's not because of the wokeness. And by the way, I finally have a definition to wokeness. Like, I know how to express it. But it's not due to the wokeness. It's like Dead Space 2 remake. Sorry, Dead Space remake. The sounds were a lot better in the first one. Like, they were more metallic. The necromorphs looked more human, and they were a lot more scary. And I don't know, maybe my memory is off, but like the first one, it looked a lot more metallic in a way. Like, the corridors were darker. It just felt a lot more scary. And I think it was a little bit more difficult. Or maybe that's just me. Maybe it's like I got better at games, so I shouldn't make that comparison. Okay, I know how to define what a woke game is, right? Because a lot of people have constantly said, well, if the game has a woman in it, is it woke? Like, if it has my mother in it, if I put my mother in the game, is that making the game woke, right? Like, Ghost of Tsushima has a woman. Is that woke? And I talked with some people on Discord that we finally reached a consensus. I talked with other content creators, I spoke with people, and I finally know what is and what isn't woke. And I think the main important factor behind the woke game is the intent, right? So, like, you can have women in games. That doesn't make it woke. You can have black people in games. It doesn't make it woke. Is the intent. Are you adding the character because you have an interesting story to tell, or because you think it adds a lot to the plot, or that you think that the players will like it? Or are you adding the character because you think it's going to help represent marginalized groups? If you're adding the character to represent marginalized groups, go fuck yourself, right? Because that's not, like, marginalized groups do not benefit from having a token in a $70 game. You're not helping society, okay? You're just mentally ill. Like, let's cut the shit. I know that this is what the academia is saying, that if you have like more black characters in Assassin's Creed, it's going to improve the life of America. No, it doesn't. Okay, it's a video game. It's fiction. You're mentally deficient. Your HR lady is mentally deficient, and the university professor that taught her is also mentally deficient. Right? Like this is absolute nonsense, absolute horseshit. And if you try to peddle it to me and you're asking me for money, I will kindly tell you to go fuck yourself. So, you know, like this idea of uglifying women, right? Like putting female characters in video games that look like men with wigs. I am more willing to accept a trans character if you're honest about it. And you're like, okay, this is a trans character. But if you're telling me this is a female character and it looks like a man, you need to go fuck yourself. I mean, there's no other way. You have to. You have to go and you have to fuck yourself. The reason for it is that they're trying to do this gender abolitionist push, which again is like the intent is to show, well, look, women can look like this in real life. And I'm like, okay, I know that women can look like that in real life, right? Women can have herpes in real life. Women can have cavities. They can have pus and like all of the shit. I don't want to pay $70 to see it. Do you understand? Like, why would I pay the money that I get from the wage gauge in order for you to give me eye sore? I want eye candy. And the thing is, you know, like with beautiful women, they keep making it about pornography and masturbating. Like, I'm sorry, it's not even like getting hard or anything. It's more pleasing, it's more aesthetically pleasing to see a game where you play as Nier, you play as 2B from Nier Automata, than to see a game where you play as Abby. It's just easier on the retina, it's easier on the eye, it looks better. Right? It's not about masturbating or anything like that. It just looks better. So, like, why is it that if you know that this is what the market wants, your intent is to not give to the market what it wants. Your intent is to lecture the market. And one of these chuckleheads even said it out loud that it's their job is like a mother to hide the carrot in the broccoli. It's like, fuck off. To hide the carrot in the brownie. Right? Like, they're treating us like children that are in desperate need of an education. That is fucking woke. Right? So, like, if you put a person of color or a woman in a game, and it's because you think that this is going to create a more interesting story, you think that this is what the players like, it's not woke. But if you do it specifically to lecture the audience, to insert your ideology, that is woke. Notice how no one gives a shit when anime has gay characters or when anime has people of color or when, right? Because the intent isn't there. Like, the Japanese aren't trying to lecture your ass. They're not trying to send a message by having this character inside. Yeah, if the goal is political rather than capitalist or entertainment, it is woke. So in the case of Dead Space remake, when they decided to remake all the posters, because you had like posters with scientists, and they removed every single white man scientist, and instead they would add black women with a prosthetic arm or something like that. Like, their point is like, oh, look, see, black women with prosthetic arms can be scientists as well. And I'm like, why are you doing this, number one? And number two, that is fucking woke, because your intent is to teach me something, right? Like, you want to teach me that black women with prosthetic arms can be scientists, which is amazing. Oh my goodness. Yes, great. How much money did you spend on that? How much? You know, you could have put a woman with big fat tits over there and it would have improved the atmosphere. And instead, you chose to do your shitty politics that I don't give a fuck about. Like, I'm in Romania. Why the fuck do I care about your American politics? And why should I pay for it? Because that's the question at the end of the day. Like, why is it that you want my money? Why do you covet my wealth so much? If you want to push your politics, join the Democrats. Blizzard did a really good job with StarCraft Remastered. Worth $10. Even added some nice artwork between the missions. So, I actually know the story of that. It's very interesting. So, Blizzard had an idea. By the way, just because Dead Space is woke, it doesn't mean that it's a failure. Like, not all woke games are bad. Because it also matters, like, what exactly are you doing with the wokeness? Like, how much wokeness are you adding? So, like, if you're adding a little wokeness, but, like, usually the wokeness doesn't actually add to the game. like even the woke games I haven't seen. It's like, oh, this game is great because of the wokeness, right? Like very very rarely does it actually happen. I think like the only game that I can say about it is Life is Strange Part 1, where the wokeness actually works in favor of it. Because you get to experience how it's like to play as a girl on campus and get bullied by other girls, which is an interesting experience. It's like, wow, this is an aspect of humanity that I didn't know. Yeah, it's pretty shit. Yeah, that's interesting, right? So like, it actually worked. But other than that, no, I can't think of anything else. Now, going back to Blizzard, this is actually very interesting. So, Blizzard decided, this is when Blizzard was still a company that had prestige and people looked up to it. It decided that after the success of Overwatch, they wanted to have like small teams of 20, maybe 30 people and try to create new games. Like try to create small projects, small games, and try to make money off of it. So the first one was Hearthstone. And Hearthstone was actually a commercial success. Like they made a lot of money out of the game. They implemented very few resources to make it. A lot of it was just art. And it was incredibly popular. Like, people absolutely loved the game. And then they decided, okay, well, let's remake some of our old games, right? Because you just need a little bit of a polish, and maybe we can sell it again. I mean, StarCraft is very popular in Korea. If you want to date a Korean girl, you have to beat her dad at StarCraft. So they did that. And again, it was very successful. Now, I'm talking about video games, Ben Santos. Stop it with the communism. Unless it's video games related. So, they basically managed to make a very good product. And then they decided to remake Warcraft 3. And the problem they had is that they went to BlizzCon. And that was like a really bad BlizzCon for them. But people didn't get hyped for anything at that BlizzCon. Like, none of their new projects was received with any hype except Warcraft 3. Like, Warcraft 3 was actually something that people actually cheered. So, when that happened, they went to their little team. Again, like, this was supposed to be, like, a very small project that didn't cost a lot. And they went to their little team and started demanding more. It's like, you need to remake the cutscenes, remake the campaigns, remake this, remake... And the little team was like, you're making us have much higher workload, but you're not giving us more resources, right? And they couldn't deliver. And I don't blame them. I mean, they didn't have the manpower and they didn't have the staff required to accomplish what was asked. And I think they even outsourced some of the animations. And by the way, like, this is the main problem with Warcraft 3 Reforged, is that the animations are unplayable. I've never seen something like this in a video game. But basically, when you're playing a strategy game, it's very important to be able to tell your units from the enemy. And it's also important to tell your units apart. Like, you want to tell apart your ghouls from your acolytes, right? You want to tell apart the ghouls from the peasants. Like you need to make these decisions because the game is happening very fast. And you need to make, like, these rapid decisions. So what ends up happening is that the game is so bad that not only you can't tell your units apart, like I for one, can't tell one ghoul from another. It's so fucking bad that you can't even tell where the enemy hero is at. And that's the second problem, is that you can't tell your units from the enemies. The game is unplayable. You cannot play in multiplayer. And of course, it got some DEI shit where they made some of the female characters ugly on purpose, and they made the Death Knight female, which, by the way, isn't really that bad because they made the Death Knight female, but it's the intent, as I was saying, right? Like, they wanted to diversify their character. And I really hated when they had diversity in a remake, because they're insinuating that the original people did it wrong, when the original people were much more talented than all of their new team put together. So, you know, it's the statement that really pisses me off. It's sad when games like Big Rigs run better than some modern games. Yeah. Warcraft 3 refunded. I don't think they allowed for refunds. Did they? I know, like, Blizzard really doesn't like Steam because you can refund the games. I also know about the do you not have phone stuff. So do you not have phones? I have like insider info what that was all about. Inside, like, they were really happy with their phone games. Like, a lot of the people that developed that were also from China, and the Asian market is like really, really booming with phone games. And I don't blame them. I mean, some of the gacha games they have on phones are really well, but the Western market is not, because the Western market associates phone games with monetization, excessive monetization, which Diablo Immortal definitely had. And it's a phone game, right? Like people don't go to a BlizzCon. Like, they don't spend $60 to buy a ticket, and probably $2,000 for the airplane tickets as well, and another $200-300 for the hotel rooms, right? Like, people don't spend that much money to go and see the advertisement for your game if you're going to give them phone game. And that BlizzCon in particular was insanely disappointing. I mean, they even announced a cereal box. Like, how fucking desperate are you? You know, like, people go there to see Blizzard games, and you're, like, making this big announcement about the cereal box. And they didn't have anything important, right? Like, they announced the World of Warcraft expansion. I think it didn't even have a new class. Like, it was a very underwhelming expansion. They didn't really announce anything for Overwatch. It was like a really, really awful BlizzCon overall, but there were rumors that they're going to announce a Diablo game, and people thought that it's going to be Diablo 4. And again, like, this is when Blizzard was still a respectable company, and people had faith that, okay, well, Diablo 4 is going to be somewhat good. And then like the insider, like the team that actually made Diablo Immortal, they were happy with their game because they actually made a couple of breakthroughs when it came to like phone games. Like they were pushing the technology to the limit. So like for a phone game, it wasn't bad. I mean, compared to any other phone game, Diablo Immortal was actually like really good. So like they were happy internally, like they were satisfied with the product, right? Like they signed up to make a phone game, and from their perspective, they made one of the best phone games that they could. So when the guy goes out to present it, right, like it's really not his fault. Like he wasn't. He is met with boos, right? Like people there are booing, and he didn't expect this because like the people in the room were like the most hardcore fans. Like in order to go to a BlizzCon, you need to spend a couple of thousands of dollars. Like, no one would do that unless they're, like, a big fan of the company. So, like, you have a room with the most hardcore fans imaginable, and everyone is booing your product. So, like, can you imagine, like, what other people that aren't your fans will do, right? So, like, the guy is genuinely shocked. Like he is... He just doesn't know. Like, he actually took it as an insult. But it's not like a mean-spirited insult. It's like when you genuinely pour your heart and your soul out to create a product, and when you finally show it, people are booing you. Like you do feel insulted, right? So he just didn't know what to say. He froze, and he's like, "Well, don't you guys have phones?" Like he tried to make a joke to play it off, but it sounded even worse, right? So yeah, I don't know if like the guy didn't read the room. Like it's not really his fault, right? Like he got a job at Blizzard in order to make a phone game. And he made the best phone game he could, right? Like, it's not his fault that the marketing team was mentally deficient. Like, had they announced this game outside of BlizzCon, no one would have cared, right? Like, it would have been a better thing to just announce it outside of BlizzCon, or to announce it after Diablo 4 or whatever. Like, that would have been great. But what they did is, like, they announced it during BlizzCon. Suffice to say, the game was a major success. They did make money off of it. I mean, gamers gonna microtransact. So, all in all, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't like something that pushed Blizzard's brand. Because that's the problem. Sure, the game was a success and they made money, but they took damage to their brand. And it's getting to the point where Blizzard used to be the company that there was no way in hell I wouldn't have bought a game for them. Like if a Blizzard game came out, I would have paused everything in my life. I would have just saved money. Because they weren't very expensive at the time, especially in Romania. But I would have saved money and I would have bought the game, right? Now if a Blizzard game comes out, I don't even know. Like Diablo expansion pack came out. I don't know what that happened. Like I saw Elon Musk play it and I was like, oh, so Elon Musk, what is he getting like early access to it? Oh, the game is out? Oh, I see. Almost Shiroi. And that's pretty much it. I genuinely like don't care about any game that Blizzard has now. There's absolutely no way that they'll get me back as a customer. Maybe if they release some, like, especially after what they did with Overwatch. That happens when the marketing team is allowed to run the company. They don't understand the PC market. Yeah, like think about it this way, right? You would think that the way companies run is that they hire people internally. So, like, you join the company, you're an artist, or you're a developer, or you're a story writer, and then they assign you to do marketing. Yeah, that's not how it works anymore. Now the way it works is that they hire someone that comes from university and they learned about marketing, but they may not even like your product. They may not even be a gamer, and they have to now promote the game that has... They don't understand the customers. They don't... Like, what they know is what theoretically works, right? Like, they may have, like, a chart or some statistics or some shit, but, like, they don't have the soul and the passion in order to do the marketing. Go back to 1990 and tell everyone how much Warcraft sucks. I don't think, like, 1990 would have been the one... when did World of Warcraft came out? Yeah, like, when World of Warcraft came out and it was, like, a cultural phenomenon, if you were to come there and describe to people what WoW is today, they would believe you. Gamers are basically a slave class. It seems that may not be the case anymore. It seems that gamers are not buying the game. So, like, let's see, this year alone, we had Forspoken, that destroyed the studio. We had Concord. We had Suicide Squad. We have, like, this other game where you play the Indian chick. It's called something with a number. Something 9 or 6. Again, I don't even know the names of these games anymore. It's like, fuck. Yeah, like, failure after failure after failure. No, gamers are fed up. The thing is, it's, like, not even ideological at this point. It's just that they're so fucking bad. The games are bland. They hire incompetent people in order to fit their percentages. They fire the competent people in order to make room for more incompetent ones. So, what do you expect? Yeah, like, games are going to be absolutely filled with bugs. And they're going to be absolutely the worst games ever. And it's to the point where normies just stop buying it. They're not interested. I mean, okay, just like, pause for a bit. I like showing this, but, like, which game would you rather play? Either if you're a man or a woman, which game would you rather... Like, just the aesthetics. And they will say this is about gooding. No, I'm sorry, but, like, this is pleasant to look at. I would rather listen to what this girl has to say than listen to what this chick has to say. No, like, seriously. Like imagine you're in a room, and you know, like it's not sexual or anything. Let's even say you're castrated. You just don't have any feelings for femininity. You get to spend 1 hour with one of these girls and just talk. Which one would you pick? So, like, it doesn't really require any level of brain power. It's like, right? Like, it's so fucking universal to the point where even women, like, I see streamers, like female streamers that are now playing Asian games and they enjoy it more because of the aesthetics. It's not about gooning. It's about that this just fucking looks better. Imagine, like, having a car, right? Like, you're buying a Porsche or something, and the version that you get is, like, rusty, covered with dirt, and the seller says... Yeah, but, like, we want poor people to feel represented. We can't just have you driving around with a rich car because you're making poor people feel unlucky and you're making marginalized folk feel more marginalized. So we're going to give you, like, this really... I mean, it's still a Porsche, right? It runs like a Porsche. It has, like, the same specs and qualifications. However, it's just, like... The outside, like the aspect of it looks like shit because we don't want poor people to feel marginalized. Isn't that mental insanity, though? Like, okay, it's still a Porsche, it runs like a Porsche, but the aesthetics are also important. And speaking of aesthetics, right, like this is what they're doing, and I've seen it in so many fucking games, it makes me sick. It generally does. I don't know how else to put it, and it makes me sick because it's a destruction of the soul of the thing. Like, games just do not have soul anymore. Like, they're not made with passion. You can say that they're made with people that have no understanding of what the game is, and every single fucking game is looking like the place on the right. So what I mean by this is that this was like the original Warcraft, right? Incredibly masculine. You look at many Warcraft originals, and you're going to see that, it's like either a human holding an orc head. I mean, it's called Warcraft, right? Like, it's war. It was a dark and gritty universe. Now, they look like stock photos. And it's not just Warcraft that looks like stock photos. Dungeons and Dragons also looks like stock photos. Like many games, they're doing this in almost every single fucking game. The male characters, like, they have the soy face. They usually have, like, the mental illness haircut. And they're placed in a way where it almost looks like they're walking the rich streets of California, you know? Like there was, like, a Dungeons and Dragons shit where you have, like, some dwarves, and it looked like they're in a Starbucks. And it's like, well, hold on a little bit. Like, when you look at a night elf, it belongs to Warcraft. Like, when you see a night elf, you're immediately thinking of Warcraft. Like, it's so on brand. Like the character fits the setting. It's the same with this on the left, right? Like, they fit the setting. The one on the right can fit any setting. Like, you can place him in Ogrimmar, you can place him in modern-day California, you can place him in a Starbucks. Like, literally, you change the background into anything you want, and this picture stays the same. Now, imagine you try to place this in a Starbucks, right? Like, it doesn't work. And these are, like, photos that were meant for advertising. Like, these are the photos that they want people to get interested in the thing. And it's not just this, because, like, you can have people nitpicking and say, well, this is from Hearthstone or some shit. It's in every fucking game. Everywhere. Everywhere is being like this. They look like stock photos. Mexican orcs. Like, come on. Fucking cargo cultist, man. Orcs decided to have an independent central bank. Korean MMOs are better than World of Warcraft these days. Wasn't there like a Korean MMO that I played that it was actually quite fun? The thing with them is that they're so fucking easy. So fucking easy. I like games that are challenging. And, like, I was playing this Korean MMO a couple of years ago. Something with I forgot the name of it. But, like, I played it for a little bit, and all of a sudden I'm level 20. And I'm like, come on. You're telling me to stock up on backups before they delete everything. Okay, so, like, the reason I'm bringing this up, like this whole shtick with companies being against all games... a lot of people didn't understand. It's like, all right, well, I think it was Nintendo. I may be wrong. But, like, some people were making emulators for games that just don't sell anymore, right? So, they were making emulators for video games that you cannot buy from anywhere else. Like, they're old games. You can't find the old consoles unless you invest a lot of money, and you don't buy them from the store anyway. You buy them from a second-hand merchant. And the only way to play them is with the emulators, right? So, like, they stepped in and they sued the guys making the emulators, and the guys were bewildered. It's like, well, hold on a little bit. Where are your losses? Like, how are you losing money over this? Like, you're not selling these games anymore. So you're not selling them, and you're basically going after us. Like, why? It doesn't make sense. And now it does, right? Because they're thinking that preserved video games are a problem. Because people would rather play the old games than buy the new ones. And this is actually happening. It's like it's happening with Batman Arkham City. Like, more people are playing that than they're playing, what is it? Suicide Squad. Now, the question is, though, and it's actually an interesting question, right? Because, like, you get that itch. You want to play as Batman, and this game is shit. So, like, you're going to scratch that itch by playing an old game. What if there wasn't an old game? What if you just have the choice between playing Suicide Squad or nothing? Would there be more people playing? I don't know. But what I do know is that there is a huge uptick this year in old Steam games. Like, there are so many people that are moving towards replaying games from their library or play games that they bought and never played. And publishers are terrified of this. To be honest, I'm doing the same with old movies, man. I'm rewatching Lost. Like, they put Lost on Netflix. I'm watching that with my wife. It's very entertaining. I'm watching Stargate again. First few seasons aren't that immersive, but like after you get the first few seasons, it's really great. No, this is not why physical games were removed. Physical games were removed because gamers were lazy. The only reason physical games were removed is that it's more comfortable to download a game from your house than to actually go to a store. So eventually, gamers decided to keep buying digital games to the point where the physical stores went out of a business. There's no conspiracy, like the publishers didn't get to decide, oh, we need to close down the physical stores. No, it's just like, they just don't sell. And from a publisher standpoint, it's actually cheaper to put your game on a server on Steam rather than, you know, print discs and shit. No, I haven't seen The Wire. Spaceballs was the last good movie ever made. I actually watched it on Pippa's server back in the day. It was very fun. Imagine if streams became so bad that people are only rewatching old Steam VODs and not what's live. Right now, people are watching a lot of Korean shit, especially on Netflix, and even stuff from Spain. Like, there's a lot of Spanish movies. The Platform came out. Like, Europe is actually starting to make good movies. They still have diversity in it, but like it doesn't bother me. I don't know, like there's also different ways of doing wokeness. Did you notice that? Like the Japanese do wokeness differently than the Americans. When Americans do wokeness, the first thing they do is they purge everyone from the office that's not woke. So it doesn't matter if they're a good coder, it doesn't matter if they're a good artist, if they're not woke, they gotta go. And then they start purging even woke people if they're not the correct race and gender. And after they remain with the few people that fit the criteria, then they bring in more incompetent people that also fit the criteria. So, like, the first thing they do is they fuck up their internal team. You know, like their team may have had the culture before, they may have had the dynamic before. Now they don't, because they started firing people and hiring new people. So this is how the Americans do woke. And then they have like 5 or 6 diversity officers that make absolutely sure that working there is insufferable. Right? You can't have any fun, no banter, nothing like that. And then they bring in the consultants and they go for maximum wokeness. They don't go with a little... No. Like every single woman needs to look like a man. Every single character needs to look like a walking stereotype. Right? Now let's look at how Japan does wokeness. Let's look at Capcom. The way Capcom does wokeness, first of all, they don't care. Like they don't have the concept of like my game developer is woke or not, right? Like they still have like the same team. So this is why their products, even if they're woke, they're still functional. But the second thing that they do is that they also give a little wokeness, but at the same time they also give what the players want. So like if you look at Street Fighter 6, you have Marisa. Eyesore of a character. Horrible character design. Worst design in Street Fighter. Kimberly as well. Like, I was looking at Kimberly and it was like... And I believe I even said it on a stream. And I was like, look, it's not that the character is a problem. Because they also have other black characters in Street Fighter. But like, this one in particular just rubs me off the wrong way. I don't know why. It's like an uncanny valley. This is what I said like years ago when I played the game. I was like, well, this Kimberly character is just like, I don't know, something off about her. I just don't like it. And then it turns out that in order to make Kimberly as authentic as possible, we spoke with many black employees within the company and we hired consultants to help us design the character and her mannerisms. And I was like, oh, okay, so this is why she's so obnoxious. Because they use Californians. By the way, there are other black people outside of Californians, right? There is no such thing as black culture. Like, the culture of black people in Africa is different than the one in America, you know? By the way, if you want to see black African culture, there's a movie called Chappie or Charlie, I forgot the name, with a robot. It's really cool. You should watch it. It's really interesting. Takes place in South Africa. Apparently, it's like a music band that made it. But yeah, if you look at Street Fighter 6, you got these characters, right? You got Marisa, you got this one. Even the Indian lady just didn't hit well with me. But that's my opinion, you know. I'm not saying like these characters are as awful as Marisa is fucking awful. No, like Marisa is pretty fucking awful. But I'm not saying they're as bad as Abby from The Last of Us. By no means of the imagination. Right? It's just I didn't like them. But you also have characters that you do like. I mean, Juri from Street Fighter 6. I mean, she's hot, right? Like, even though she's a bully, she's still feminine. Like, her mannerisms are womanly. Like she's sensual despite the fact that she's an asshole. Chun-Li is still there, right? So, the way Japanese people do wokeness is that they will have the woke shit in. Especially, you know, like, this is a game where you get to choose pronouns and stuff. And the first thing you do when you start the game, you're met by this non-binary, black, androgynous person. But you also, like, they still give the players what the players want to see. Meanwhile, Mortal Kombat on just goes, like, full on. Like, all the ladies, they look awful. It's horrible. By the way, you know, I just want to point out, because, like, this is something that they always say, oh, you're a racist because you don't like a video game character. Like, fuck you, they're not Rorschach tests. But there are black characters that I like. Like, for instance, Shiva from Resident Evil. I mean, she's a gorgeous character, and she's a person of color, right? Like, Storm from X-Men. Blade. But they're characters that are done well. These ones are walking stereotypes. Like, I'm sorry, I have seen these types of characters in so many games, and they're so fucking annoying. It's like Echo from League of Legends. The whole can spray aesthetic with the hairstyle that's coming from the California, and the whole behavior and mannerisms, it just rubs me the wrong way. I don't know. It's fucking weird. Like, I'm pretty sure, like, someone will help me articulate what I want to say a little better, but, like, it's the type of character that I have seen in so many other fictions. Yeah, Spawn. Spawn is a great character. The one from Final Fantasy. What was that dude's name? The one with the minigun. Do these fighting games ever improve in gameplay-wise? Street Fighter 5 and 6 are very different, man. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, maybe if you're playing at a superficial level, you don't see it. But, like, if you're playing at a competitive level, they do improve. But, yeah, it's called bad. The problem with fighting games is that they're becoming more and more casual. To the point where, you know, like, there were some people, myself included, who actually enjoyed, like, taking the character into the lab, we called it, like, you're playing it to training, and as you're training with the character, you're practicing combos, and you're practicing different difficult shit, and once you pull it off, you go into the single player, and it actually becomes really interesting, because when you pull off a combo and you don't drop it, you feel good about yourself, and you're like, wow, I managed to pull it off. Like, it's kind of like playing Elden Ring, and you finally beat a difficult boss, right? When you finally get that long combo going, that's very difficult to do. But they removed that from the new fighting games. Like, in the new fighting games, everything is streamlined, everything is casualized, it's almost impossible to drop a combo, and it just becomes a game into playing footsies until you get hit once, and then you have to watch 10 seconds as the other guy does a combo and chips out like 2/4 of your health. And it's just not fun for me. I mean, you know, it may be fun for others, like if you're new to fighting games or stuff, but yeah, it is what it is. You can't just juggle the normie to death. It's not even about juggling the normie to death. It's just like, if I play Street Fighter 4 and I'm fighting against an opponent that actually knows what they're doing, there's two levels of difficulty. Number one is opening them up, like managing to land the hit. And number two is continuing with the combo and not dropping the combo. And if you get a combo, you can also hope that your opponent will drop it. So you gotta be always on guard, because like if they drop the combo, you manage to get a response, right? In the recent games, you don't get to do that anymore. If you're playing Street Fighter 6 or Mortal Kombat 1, the only thing that I worry about is opening the opponent up. But like once I open him up, I know for sure that I'm going to get the combo going. Like there's no way for me to drop it. This is like, it's too simple to implement. Anyone can implement. So that's the only thing. It's like opening the opponent up, and that's it. And if you get the combo, you just have to stop playing for the next 10 to 20 seconds while you're being juggled all the way until your health is down. And it's not like a bad idea. Like, if you're playing it casually, you may not even notice, but if you're playing it competitively, yeah, it gets really annoying. It's going good, Hyper Summoner. Thank you for asking. The black character wins Mortal Kombat and literally goes back in time to recreate the We Was Kangs. Oh yeah, like Mortal Kombat is super woke. I would say why it's so woke, but I would get a terms of service violation. But if you look at the person who did the character design, it would all make sense. They had this story, like here's the thing what they did to Mortal Kombat. Like this is when I realized, okay, this game is so fucking woke now. So Mortal Kombat used to have a very popular black character. Let's see if I can find a picture of him. I'll use this one. And this is also why like people hate wokeness as well, right? So Mortal Kombat used to have this character. And he goes by the name of Jax. Very iconic character. Really original, right? I got this dude, military man. Has like iron fists because his hands were taken off by Ermac. And I think like in some iterations it's Sub-Zero that takes his hands. But anyway, he's a really cool character, right? Like one of the first grapplers in Mortal Kombat history. And he's a patriot because he's a soldier. And I think like in one of the games, I forgot which one. I think it was Mortal Kombat Trilogy. He actually surrounds himself with an American flag as his victory pose. Like he takes an American flag and wraps it around himself, right? So big patriot. Now, if you play Mortal Kombat 11, I think it was. Or 10. No, it's 11, yeah. So in Mortal Kombat 11, if you finish the game with him, he says that America is too racist and he remakes time. I think he removes slavery from time. But anyway, he removes slavery. And Africa now is like Wakanda. And he, yeah, like really signaling to Black Lives Matter. Because at the time, again, this is why you shouldn't add politics into your games. Like, why you shouldn't cut and day your games. Because they age pretty well. They age pretty poorly, sorry. And I was like, this is like, the developers... Like, they're not even the original developers, right? At this point, because I knew who was the person that designed the character. Like, they didn't work on the previous Mortal Kombat. They just take the IP, and they use the characters like VTubers in order to push their politics. Complete fucking nonsense. Like complete disregard for this man's story. Like, in the game, he's got a daughter, right? Which he loves very much. Like, apparently the daughter got him out of depression. By remaking the timeline, he is erasing his daughter from existence. He never has any issue in the game. Like he never says that he's being oppressed or anything like that. I mean, when he lost his arms, the military actually helped him and gave him new arms. Like, he is a commander. He's actually someone that's in a position of power and authority. At no point does he badmouth his country. In fact, he wouldn't even think about that, given the fact that in the Mortal Kombat universe, Earth realm is just like one of the realms in the universe, and they're constantly under attack from Outworld, from Nether realm. Like you got like all these other things that the last thing on your mind would be racismus. Like it would be a fight for survival at that point. So like yeah, it doesn't have to make sense. It doesn't have to fit. It doesn't have to be part of the story in any way. It's just like you got a modern day politics, you know. And they also had the Shao Khan say, "Make America Great Again." Another thing they did was to pussify Shao Khan. So let me see if I can find Shao Kahn victory Mortal Kombat 9. So this is Shao Kahn's victory pose, and you can definitely see why it doesn't sit very well with the HR lady, right? Yeah, toxic masculinity. You can't have any of this shit. Now, if he was a woman, see, like if he was a woman, like they have in Arcane, where she's like a buff woman, and you have like a little twink, a man that does this, that would be fine. Like they would applaud this. They would be really happy if you have like Ilaoi from League of Legends, and she's got like a little let me think, like which character from League of Legends will think. Not Echo, because he's black. They wouldn't do that with the black guy. They need the white dude. Ezreal, right. So if you have like Ilaoi and Ezreal just crawls up and hugs her leg like this, that would be great, right? Like that would be very progressive. But the thing with Shao Kahn is that he represents the archetype of the barbarian conqueror, right? Like he's not a very smart or savvy person. He's like brute force. And he was like really cool because he was an actual terror in the game. Like the character was really overpowering. Like when you actually reached him, he would mop the floor with you. Like it would take like 20 or 25 tries in order to beat him. And he was iconic. Like he was in the entire lore, in the entire story, like he was the big baddie. Until Mortal Kombat became woke. And then fucking Jade, which is like a low tier character, manages to beat Shao Kahn, and like, oh, fuck off. Like, I can't get immersed into the story anymore if you're going to pull shit like this. It's kind of like, in DC Comics, imagine if, I don't even know. Like, let's think of a very low rank tier superhero. Yeah, it's kind of, I guess, like Batgirl, all of a sudden beating Superman. And she's not using any gadgets. She's not using any power-ups. No, it's like Superman at his peak. And just Batgirl just decides to mop the floor with him. And you're like, but hold on a little bit. Why is this happening? Like, does plot matter anymore? Do I need to get invested in this? Or anyone can just beat anyone at any time for no reason whatsoever? And the only reason they did it is it's also you realize it's ideological, right? Because they made Jade. So let me show you what they did, right? So Jade, MK9, and then I will show you what they made to Jade. So Jade looked like this, and then they made her look like this. So this is how Jade used to look like in all the Mortal Kombat games, right? She's like a female assassin. The reason, like she's actually supposed to be smoking hot, like it actually makes sense in the lore because you're seeing Outworld, and Outworld is like this exotic place, but it's very deadly and dangerous. So you see like these 10 out of 10 waifus coming out of Outworld. It makes Outworld interesting. You want to explore it, and they made her look like this. And apparently, like, the person who made them, the creative design, like, oh, this is the best iteration of Jade. Oh, best iteration. She looks like a fucking skeleton. And by the way, the cope from the people defending this shit was like, oh, wait, she's not this, she's a Revenant. Why do you want the Revenant to be hot? What is wrong with you? They always do this. Like, there's always, like, some lore reasons why she can't look like this anymore and she has to look like that. Anyway. When I saw her, I was like, okay, this is the girl boss. She's going to beat everyone. And she did. she actually managed to beat Shao Khan now. And she's a low tier character. Like story wise, Jade is not very powerful. Like Jade is I would say Sonya level. It's like she's not like the worst character on the roster, lore wise. She's definitely not even mid. I think even Sub-Zero can take her. Like, yeah, but now she's beating Shao Kahn. And you know, like when you do that, why would I feel any tension anymore? Why would I care, right? Because like the whole thing with Mortal Kombat, like especially when you play Mortal Kombat 9, you feel a lot of tension. It's like, oh, how are the guys going to get out of this situation? Like, what are they going to do? Oh, this didn't work and that didn't work. Like, how are they going to fix the problem? But now it's like, well, they just get Jade, right? I mean, just get a low tier character and beat the living shit out of Shao Kahn. I mean, and it doesn't make sense in the lore and universe as well. It's like, well, why didn't she beat him up until then? Like, if she can just solo Shao Kahn, like, why can't she just? And it's also like she is in love with the new Khan, the one with the Aztec. I forgot the name of him. They fucking tuned out of the story after they started pulling all this bullshit. Kotal Khan. And I'm like, really? So Kotal Khan is in Outworld, and there's women that look like this, and this is, Like imagine, no, seriously, imagine if you see this woman, and she is going out with, I don't know, Darkseid Phil. Would it cause immersion? Would it break immersion? Would you be like, what the fuck? Really? Cause like you need to suspend. It's not like suspension of disbelief. Like I can believe that this girl is throwing shurikens and is doing combat and is fighting with men twice her size because it's a fantasy genre, right? That's called suspension of disbelief. But like if you're telling me that this woman is dating a plump midget that's poor and is younger than her, I would be like, that's absurdity. That's not suspension of disbelief. And by the way, like this is another thing. This is actual feminine power, right? Like they want strong, independent women. I guarantee to you, if this woman is in a bar or at a cosplay event, most of these soy boys that are defending this shit, they wouldn't be able to make eye contact with her. They wouldn't even be able to approach her or even strike a conversation, let alone ask her out. This is what actual femininity is all about. Like, she's radiating with power just by being there. This radiates annoyance. All of their characters are so fucking annoying, my fucking god. And meanwhile, all the male characters are shirtless and buff, right? So, like, if you play the latest Mortal Kombat, and you're looking at Liu Kang, Sub-Zero, they're the equivalent of this. Like, the male characters still look like this. The female characters, they look like this. And I even saw cosplay of Jade that makes it look better. Like she can still be a person of color and make it look better, but they just don't wanna. Like, this is someone that cosplays, I think. Why couldn't they make her look like this? But why do all the black characters that are being added by diversity consultants, why do they all look bad? Why can't they make characters look like this? I mean, she's not beautiful to the point where it's like, oh my god. But at least it's not ugly, right? Like, it's striking a nice compromise. Anyway. Yeah, the cosplayers actually want to look attractive. It doesn't matter if it's AI. I don't know what it is. Google showed it to me. But let's assume it's AI, right? Like, why is the AI doing a better job than the actual people that are paid to do it properly? Look, another example. Like, you can make characters that don't look like the original MK9 cast, but at the same time, they don't look really bad either. And there's like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just being subjective here. Yeah, the thing is, like, people defend the new outfit for Jade, but like, I don't see anyone using it in their profile pictures. Like, notice how people use anime girls in their avatars and shit? Like Mikasa, for instance. Or My Hero Academia characters. I see them being used all the time in avatars and in thumbnails and in a lot of places. No one uses New Jade. Like even Mortal Kombat, when they're talking about their game and they're making announcements, they don't use Jade. I don't even know if they sell figurines of her. That one is really bad. Well, I maybe you know what? Maybe this is why they do this. Maybe this is why they do this, because after seeing this, the bot is so low that literally anything is better. Like literally any other character is better than this. Why can't the mod fan makers make characters look better than the paid developers? Yeah, because it's ideological. Like, this is how I define wokeness, is the intent, right? Like, their intent is to change standards of beauty. Like they're very open about this, and I'll show you if I can find one example. And then I'll probably log off. I'll end the stream. And I'll see you all tomorrow. It's a threat. Yeah, but I'll find that example of what's happening here. So there is a statement from the Witcher director, and I'm trying to find it, but I gotta scroll down because I tweeted about it, and so far, like, yeah, okay. So, not a single woke person managed to debug this. And we're talking about the game called Awakening. And this game managed to have 39 concurrent players online, right? It's like, holy shit. 39 players online. It peaked at 285. And no one was interested. And the reason I'm not kidding. When you say this, they really hate it. But I guarantee to you, I'm not the only one. Right? Like, people look at the woman on the box, and they're like, okay, if that's your best foot forward, if this is how you think you can make marketing, I'm not buying your product. I'm not interested. I am 100% not interested, and there's jack shit you can do. You know, my winning condition is to stay disinterested and not buy your shit. Your winning condition is to convince people to keep buying your slop. And the reason I'm not interested is not just the aesthetics, but it's this. People were saying, well, hold on a little bit, V, that you don't understand. Like, that woman is the actress that played Yennefer in The Witcher TV show. And I'm like, that's precisely why. That is precisely the reason I'm not interested. Because she's not a good-looking character. And the director admits this. The director said, according to the casting director of Sophie Holland, the actress won the role for her beauty, as well as the series wanted to challenge societal norms of what it is to be accepted as beautiful. So, how did she win it for the beauty if you want to challenge the norms? No, what you did is you notice what is beautiful and you choose to cast something that's the opposite. In order to, like again, this is a mental deficient ideology that is coming from the American academia. They believe that people don't like to see dead kittens. It's true, right? Like, no one wants to see dead kittens. Who wants to see dead kittens? No one wants to, right? It's icky. Even if it's in a virtual format, even if it's in a video game, no one wants to see dead kittens, right? But the academics, they really want you to see dead kittens. Like, they're fascinated by this. It's on their mind all the time. Like, they can't live knowing that other people do not want to see dead kittens. So their theory is that if you put dead kittens everywhere, if you put them in every video game, in every movie, it becomes normalized and people will get okay with seeing dead kittens. They're mentally deranged. But that's what they think, right? However, what's happening is that when people see the dead kittens in movies and video games, they don't like it. They just start hating those movies and they start hating those video games the same way they don't like seeing dead kittens. They don't like seeing that shit. And the academics are livid, but the most livid people are the ones supporting the ideology. Because they cannot admit that the academics were wrong. They cannot bring themselves into saying, all right, well, this thesis was horseshit. It doesn't work that way, because they believe that truth only comes from the academia. Like there is no other way you can reach reality and understand the truth unless it's from the academia. So the academics can never be wrong under any circumstance. And they're really confused. They're really bewildered when they see that people are telling them, no, these video games are shit. We don't like dead kittens. We're not mentally deranged. We still think that there is no such thing as like normal standards. No, it's just beauty. People can't articulate what is beautiful. You either like it or you don't. I just found that Black and White 2 has a total conversion mod, and I'm having Black and White 2 was really good, yeah. I got the same excuse, why Maria looks in Silent Hill 2. It's what. Well, here's the thing, right? Like when they used to cast characters, they would have like a person that was paid a lot of money in order to actually do the casting. And that person would go out of their way in order to cast like the most beautiful people. That's why it was called a Hollywood star. And it was a big thing because like out of 360 million Americans, they found one that looks the best. And now they're just trying to cast people that look mid. If you want to see a difference, you need to go with Lord of the Rings. Let me see if I can find an image. I don't think I can find that image because Rings of Power plus Privilege is so niche. There's so few people watching that no one is taking screenshots to upload them to Google. But basically, in the original Lord of the Rings, there's an interview with the person that did the casting. And they were saying that they had one of the most difficult jobs with this movie. Because they were limited to the number of people in Ireland, and they needed to find someone that they needed to find around 100 people that were tall, that had certain body features like strong jaw lines and stuff, and would also be available for shooting 5 days a week, 6 hours a day. And this was like incredibly difficult, right? But they pull it off, and this is how the elves look like in Lord of the Rings. They genuinely look like angelic beings, right? Like they when you see the elves, you realize that they're different than the humans. And it's also with the casting and the lighting, like all of the effort is to make the elves seem like they're actual magical creatures coming from a fantasy land, right? Like you as the viewer, you're interested in their culture, you're interested and you're curious, like what do the elves do? Where do they sail, right? Like they definitely appear like this above human type of species. And then you look at what Rings of Power plus Privilege did, and there's like a photograph recently with elves, and they just look like random people from California. It's like a stock photo. There's just like no effort in the casting whatsoever. It's like they got like 5 or 6 people off the street, and it's like, okay, these are the elves now. There's nothing magical about them. There's nothing. It's literally like humans cosplaying as elves. And my point is, like, this is what a casting director does. I don't know what happened after Harvey Weinstein got arrested, but they couldn't find someone to replace him. Like, obviously, someone that doesn't have the same criminal records as Harvey Weinstein. But, you know, like, people can have criminal records, but they can also have talent. Like the man could cast. And they couldn't find a single person that is clean and doesn't have a criminal record, is not a pervert, and still has, like, the same casting skills as Harvey Weinstein. They couldn't do it. It's been years now, and they're still unable to do it. And they're telling me, oh, well, you know, like, this looks like the actress. Yeah, but it looks like a person. Like, you picked an actress that looks like an average person. Why didn't you pick a star? Why couldn't you pick someone that is so beautiful, someone that is so awe-striking that when the viewer sees it, they're immediately captivated without her saying a word. Why couldn't you choose someone that is so universally beautiful that like it steals the scene? And they will think, oh, so you want a goon? No, I just want to see a star. Like you used to show me back in the early 2000s, you know, when you wanted to sell a product. Anyone with those skills is branded a pervert. Nobody could run a casting couch like Weinstein. Man was gifted. Look, man, I'm not saying that what he did is right, because I definitely think he was a piece of shit. But, like, surely you can find... Like, aren't the Japanese capable of having casting directors as well? And they hire people that can cast, you know? And then they're not accused of any sexual improper activities? Oh yeah, if you ask them what's wrong with wanting to gun, they can't say. Well, the thing is like this, you know, you go on their Discords, sorry, not Discords, you go into their profiles, and they are some of the most thirsty motherfuckers ever. Like, they're some of the biggest degenerates that you can see. But it's all about stuff that's not heteronormative. So, like, they will even like anime. Like, I seen a person that had, like, an entire... Like, their entire Twitter account was filled with shirtless Deku and Baku from My Hero Academia. Like, it was filled with yaoi. Very disturbing. And they were, like, complaining, oh, so you want a goon. I was like, I don't know if you're the one that should talk. Like... Everyone remembers the women and not the men from old movies. That's not really true. Like, if the man was oozing with toxic masculinity, I remember. Like, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone. You know what? Even comedians like Eddie Murphy. Yeah, Eddie Murphy was great. And that guy from The Sixth Element. I don't know the name of the actor, but, like, I really liked his character. Like, he was a really good comedy relief type of character. Christopher Judge. No, there's a lot of good... The thing is, like, they don't cast toxic men anymore in roles. That's the issue. Because, no, people remember men as well. But, like, if you're hyper-feminine or hyper-masculine, that's when people remember you. If you're mid, no one remembers you. It's like... Yeah, Bruce Willis. Oh my god, Jackie Chan. Yeah, Jackie Chan was really good. Fuck's sake, calling the 1980s old. Man, it's really old. Like, think about it. Man, it's been 40 years. Anyway. I will end the stream here. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for the super chats. And